at our engagement celebration. She smirked and said, "I'm only marrying him for his money, obviously." The words hung in the air like a champagne glass shattering in slow motion. Laughter erupted around us, sharp, careless, assuming it was a joke. Crystal chandeliers trembled with the sound. A violinist near the balcony missed a note. I could smell roses from the centerpieces, sickly sweet now. She didn't look at me when she said it. She looked at her friends. I chuckled too, not because it was funny, but because I suddenly understood everything. The subtle nudges toward expensive venues, the insistence on merging accounts early, the way she once asked casually what would happen if something ever happened to me. So I raised my glass and smiled. Good thing we signed a prenuptial agreement earlier today, right? Silence doesn't crash. It drains. The color left her face first. Then her parents' smiles followed. And in that quiet, I realized something. Betrayal is loud, but preparation is silent. I built my life the quiet way. While other people posted milestones, I worked through them. My first company started in a one-bedroom apartment with secondhand furniture and a laptop that overheated if I pushed it too hard. I missed weddings, birthdays, holidays. I told myself sacrifice was temporary. Security was permanent. By 32, the sacrifice had paid off. Investments steady. Properties paid down. No debt. No noise. And that's when she came into my life. She loved telling people I was low-key. What she meant was forgettable. At dinners, conversations drifted around me like I wasn't there. Her friends called me the safe one. Her father once clapped my shoulder and said, "You're lucky she chose you." I smiled and agreed. I've always been the agreeable man in the room. The one people assume is naive because he doesn't interrupt. The one who listens more than he speaks. They mistake restraint for weakness. She underestimated me the way people underestimate still water. What she never realized is that still water keeps perfect reflections. I notice everything. Tone shifts, glances, financial curiosity disguised as affection. I didn't confront small disrespect. I cataloged it. Because when you built everything from nothing, you learn one rule early. Protect what you built. The comment at the engagement party wasn't the first crack. It was just the first one said out loud. Before that, it was smaller things. Quieter. When the waiter brought the bill at dinners with her friends, she would slide it toward me without looking. 2 fingers, casual, automatic. "He's got it," she'd say, smiling at them, not at me. The tone wasn't grateful. It was assured. At her parents' house. Her mother once asked what I did for a living. I answered. She nodded politely and turned to her daughter instead. "And when's the bigger house happening?" Not if, when. As if my timeline was a faucet they could twist open. She liked to joke about upgrading after marriage. Better car, better neighborhood, better circle. I noticed she never said better partnership. Sometimes, when she thought I wasn't paying attention, I caught the exchanged glances, quick, assessing. Her friends would tease her. Secure the future. She would laugh half a second too late, just long enough to confirm it wasn't entirely a joke. The most telling moment came the day I suggested keeping some finances separate after the wedding. A pause. A blink. A smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Why would we need that?" she asked softly. Not angry. Just calculating. That's when the air shifted. The turning point didn't come with shouting. It came with paperwork. 2 weeks before the engagement party, I sat across from my attorney in a quiet office that smelled like leather and old books. He slid the draft across the desk and said, "If she's marrying you for you, this won't bother her." I told myself it was precaution, not paranoia. That night, I brought it up gently. Calm tone. No accusation. Just practicality. I watched her closely. Not for what she said, but for what flickered across her face before she arranged it. There it was. A flash of offense. Not hurt. Offense. She recovered quickly. Too quickly. "If that makes you feel better," she said, brushing invisible lint from her dress. "It's just paper. Just paper." But she asked 3 questions afterward. Each about clauses protecting inherited assets, business growth, future investments. Not one about mutual security. Not one about fairness. I signed first. She hesitated for half a second before adding her name. That half second told me everything. By the time she made that joke at the celebration, I wasn't blindsided. I was confirmed. In that room full of laughter, I didn't feel rage. I felt clarity. And clarity is colder than anger. That's when I knew I wasn't ending an engagement. I was ending an illusion. I didn't confront her after the party. I sent thank you messages to guests, shook hands, smiled for photographs, played my role to the end. The next morning, I called my attorney again. We reviewed the prenuptial agreement line by line, asset separation, business protections, future earnings, liability shields. I had structured my holdings years ago under a holding company and 2 trusts on my accountant's advice. Clean books, documented valuations, independent audits. Nothing flashy, just disciplined. If the engagement dissolved, the agreement nullified any claim to premarital or projected growth. If the marriage proceeded, financial autonomy remained intact. Either way, I was insulated. But I wasn't interested in insulation anymore. I was interested in alignment. So I conducted a quieter audit of behavior. I replayed conversations, noted patterns, measured tone against intention. I asked myself a simple question. If I lost everything tomorrow, would she stay? The honest answer came quickly. I didn't stage a dramatic exit. I scheduled a private dinner. Neutral ground. No audience. I brought a single folder, copies of the agreement, highlighted sections, and a short statement I'd written for myself, so I wouldn't soften mid-sentence. Preparation is a revenge. Preparation is respect for your own future. And I was finally ready to defend mine. The restaurant was quiet enough to hear the ice settle in our glasses. She arrived late, kissed my cheek, and began talking about floral arrangements as if nothing had shifted. I let her finish. I've learned that silence makes people reveal themselves more than interrogation ever could. When she paused, I slid the folder across the table. I've been thinking, I said evenly, about your joke. Her smile tightened. It was just humor. I know, I replied. That's the problem. I opened the folder, turning it so she could see the highlighted clauses. Asset separation, growth protection, no shared claims without contribution, clean, clinical, final. I realize I don't want a marriage where we need this, I said, tapping the paper lightly. And I don't want one where we prove your joke wrong by relying on it. The color drained again, slower this time. No audience to perform for. No laughter to hide behind. So what are you saying? She asked quietly. I'm saying the prenup worked. I answered. It protected my assets. A pause. And now I'm protecting my life. I stood, left my card for the untouched drinks, and walked out without raising my voice once. Behind me, there was no scene. Just consequences settling into place. News travels faster than truth. By the end of the week, her parents had called twice. The first time, her mother sounded confused, as if a contract had malfunctioned. Relationships take compromise, she said carefully. I agreed. That's exactly why I ended it. Her father didn't call to persuade me. He called to assess damage. His tone was polite but distant now, like I had shifted from future son-in-law to close account. I recognized that tone. I've used it in business. Her friends were less subtle. A few messages arrived. Thinly veiled accusations about pride, about overreacting to a joke. One even said, "You embarrass her." That part lingered, because they were right in one sense. I had embarrassed her. Not publicly, not theatrically, but by refusing to ignore what everyone else was willing to laugh off. The engagement photos disappeared from social media within days. Our venue released a date. The florist kept a deposit. The real consequence, though, was quieter. I stopped second-guessing myself. You should care about that part. Because the cost of staying would have been invisible. Years of small concessions, small resentments, small performances. A slow erosion of self-worth disguised as partnership. Walking away didn't damage my reputation. It clarified it. And sometimes clarity costs less than compromise. In the weeks that followed, the silence felt different. Not empty. Restored. I spent evenings in my apartment without negotiating decor, without calculating tone, without wondering how a sentence might be interpreted for leverage later. I returned to early morning runs, to long strategy sessions with my team, to decisions made without emotional tax attached. I don't hate her. That surprises people when they ask. She wanted security. I wanted sincerity. Neither of us was wrong for wanting those things, but we were wrong for pretending they were the same. The prenup was never the weapon. It was the mirror. It reflected exactly what stood between us. And once I saw it clearly, I couldn't unsee it. I've since adjusted more than my relationship status. I've tightened boundaries, slowed commitments, paid closer attention to how people speak about money, power, and partnership when they think no one important is listening. The future isn't lonelier. It's lighter. One day, I'll meet someone who laughs with me, not at the life I built. Someone who sees security as something we create together, not something to access. Until then, I'm content, because the strongest position you can ever hold is the one where you choose yourself.